The midpoint of AB is M at -2, -2. And then the coordinates of A, which is one of our endpoints, is -3, -6. So there are a couple different ways that we can approach this. One, we can look at it visually on a graph, which can be easier for some people, or we can do it algebraically using our midpoint formula. So let's first take a look at it on a graph. We're just going to kind of sketch out generally where these points are. It doesn't need to be exact, but just a general picture. So A is at -3, -6. So let's say that's down here. And then we have M is at -2, -2. So we'll say that's about here. And then what we're trying to find is B, our midpoint. Let's pretend visually, maybe it's around here. We don't know for sure what the coordinates are, but we do need to find the X and the Y coordinates. So our midpoint is just halfway in between those two endpoints, A and B, and it's going to be the same distance away. And then because we're trying to find our X and Y values, we can actually just look separately to get from A to M, our midpoint. If we just look at our X values from -3 to -2, we have to go to the right one. So that means from our midpoint M to our other endpoint B, we also need to go right 1. So if I add 1 to -2, that puts us at an X value of -1. And then we do the same thing with our Y values. To go from A at -6 to get to M at -2, we have to go up 4, which means from M to B, we're also going to need to go up 4. So if we add 4 to -2, our Y value of the midpoint, that's going to put us at +2. So our other endpoint B is going to be at -1, +2. So that's how we can do it again on a graph. Visually, we can also again use the midpoint formula. So again, our midpoint formula takes the X values of both of our endpoints and divides them in 2, and it also takes the Y value of both of those endpoints and divides by 2. Of course, again, we only know one of the endpoints. However, because we know the midpoint, I know that this value, this X value of the midpoint, is going to be equal to -2. So I can take that part of the formula and set it equal to our known midpoint value. And again, we only know one of the endpoints, so I can replace one of those X values with the one that we do know. We do know that one of the X values of the endpoints is at -3, and then we're just going to use a little bit of algebra to solve. So we'll multiply both sides by 2 to cancel out that 2. And then we'll add 3 to both sides to get the X value of that other endpoint, B, is -1. And then we'll do the same thing with the Y's. So I know if I add the Y values of our endpoints together, I know given the midpoint, it should also be at -2. We only know one of the Y values of the endpoints at A, which is at -6. So we'll sub in -6 for one of those, and then again use some algebra to solve. So again, multiply 2 on both sides. Add 6 to both sides, and we end up with our Y value of B to be, -4 plus 6 is 2. So we get that B has a coordinate point at -1, 2.